on philanthropic efforts to alleviate student debt. I'm joined by Susan McPherson. She is the founder and CEO of McPherson Strategies. Susan, thanks very much. I see you smiling there. You would have liked to have been in that graduating class years ago, huh?
Yes, but college education was much less expensive years ago.
Yeah.
You look at it year over year.
Indeed. Well, let's talk about how significant Robert Smith's pledge to pay off student loans is. What does it mean?
Well, first of all, we're all talking about it, and if anything, it altered the news cycle to have the very, very important subject of student debt come to the public dialogue. We are living at a time where college costs have gone astronomically out of control. College costs are up 85% over the last 25 years, and at the same time, the money going into the government in the form of taxes has actually gone down. So you're finding that there isn't an easy solution.
Yeah.
And I have to say, as admirable as what Mr. Smith did, it is certainly not the long-term solution.
Exactly. Donations usually go directly to universities as well. How
Yes.
does writing off debt directly to graduating seniors change the dynamic?
Well, it's a beautiful action-packed gift. What we see today in the work that we do is philanthropy is very much changing. In the olden days, it was very much around getting that picture or getting that name on a building. And in higher education, in terms of philanthropy, about the lion's share of it has gone to only 20 institutions, which really only serve about 1.6% of undergraduate students around the country. And you mentioned the $1.5 trillion student debt that currently is being held. That averages about $30,000 per graduating senior. And that number is even higher for men and women of color.
And indeed, and those who go on to higher education degrees as well. But you also talked about how this highlights the problem of the massive student loan debt.
Yes.
You brought up that figure, 85% over the last 25 years. What's wrong with the system? How does it get back on track?
Well, I think just like so many of the other massive problems we are facing today, we know that government alone won't fix it. We know that high net worth individuals alone can't fix it. And we know that business cannot fix it and academia cannot. So we need these various parties coming together to solve problems. When I was reading today about much of this, I came across some interesting tidbits. One, for instance, when in traditional fundraising, colleges and universities look for capital campaigns. Really getting that big new shiny building or park on their campuses, which inevitably gets passed on to higher prices for students.
Yeah.
So I came across what Purdue University has done, which is very much like no other universities right now. They've actually lowered the cost of college over the last 3 or 4 years, and I don't know the exact number of time, but their the new head of the college who came in, or the university, was ultimately focused on driving costs down. He lowered salaries, but now the actual tuition is going down, but the number of applicants is up. So it can be done, but it needs a lot of painstaking work.
Well, let's talk about the best way for companies and very wealthy people, billionaires, to give back. Is it that shiny building? Is it a new stadium? Or is there a better way?
Well, I am not a educational expert. I advise companies, along with my company at McPherson Strategies, on how to have their philanthropy or their company's philanthropy do the most good with whatever resources they have. And I think here, the shining big building is not the long-term answer. We need to be looking at how to use these monies that companies and the government and high net worth individuals have to actually ratchet back and solve the problem that's causing escalating education costs. And put together not just the money, but the brain power to amend a system that's gone amok.
Well, I like your way of thinking. Susan McPherson, thank you very much. And you were right about one thing. We are all talking about this generous donation.
Exactly, exactly. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you so much.
Have a good night.
You too.